Welcome to another episode of CRE Unplugged. I'm your co-host Ryan Elazari, and with me is the talented and always beautiful Nadine Ezzy. How are you, Nadine?
Oh, Ryan, I needed that because I'm coming off a birthday week and I celebrated hard. I'm not feeling very beautiful, but thank you. Thank you very much. I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. Another year around the sun. Another year on the sun. I'm back in Boston. It's good to be back in Boston after a decent amount of time back in my home state of Ohio. And, I just drink a lot more when I'm in Boston. I'm just going to say it. But yeah, no, it's all good. Ryan, how are you though? You've got some big moves going on in your life, man. I mean, big life changes.
Big life changes. The city boy is going to suburban life.
Woo-hoo. For the first listeners of CRE Unplugged, this is the first time Ryan Elazari will not be living within the city of New York City and will not be living in an apartment. He's moving out of the city and moving into a house, a townhome. How do you feel about this? Are you ready for this big change?
I can't say I'm ready, but I think it's the right thing to do for our family.
Yeah.
And excited for this new change, this new place that we're going to be laying our roots, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great for the kids. Like I can see the kids
Yeah.
riding their bikes down the sidewalk. Not to say they can't do that in the city. It's going to be good. You guys are going to have more space. And listen, if you don't like it, you can always come back. I mean, I don't know what, housing rates, if that's going to allow it, but you guys are going to thrive. You guys do great wherever you go. So it'll be good. It'll be good. And for the listeners, if you have any tips for Ryan on how to make this huge transition from New York City to Port Washington, please email us at info@creunplugged.com.
Yes, I could take all the tips. Yes, I'll be moving to Port Washington, Long Island for people who the Long Island area, Nassau County.
Yeah. Got a car? You went and got a car? I mean, you're doing
Got
it.
a
You're like
car,
leaning
yeah.
into this. Wow. Well, listen, having grown up in Ohio, if you need any tips on how to live outside the city, I'm your girl. So yeah.
Speaking of riding bikes, my dad thought it would be a great idea to have me learn to ride a bike going down this really steep hill on York Avenue. And it did not end well.
No,
Yeah. So
I'm
so I'm
shocked.
glad maybe the suburban
Yeah.
place was good to kind of have my kids learn how to bike on flat ground and
Yeah.
not
Less trauma.
legs. Exactly.
Yeah, seriously. I swear to God, one of these days we're gonna have to get our parents on this podcast. They're like, what were you guys thinking? Like,
We
seriously.
should. We
I
should, but
know.
we have to bring some alcohol to get us through the episode.
100%. No, but in all seriousness, you also the IMN AI and commercial real estate event was last week. You moderated a panel. I heard nothing but great things. A lot of our friends were there as well. Yeah, no, tell me about your panel.
Had a great panel, a lot of really intelligent, smart people. Nick Belbis from Granite Tower Properties, he's head of acquisitions there. Stefan Martinovich, he's the head of asset management at Proper XRP. Zach Aarons, most people know who he is. He's the
Yeah.
co-founder of Metaprop. And then also Spencer Burden, he founded a company called CRE Agents. So it was a powerhouse panel. And I think the main theme is AI is moving fast. People need to keep up with it. There's a lot of great products that's out there, but a lot of companies that are building great products in-house, which is something we've talked about with Brad in our previous episodes. And I think the overall opinion that I have is you're seeing large companies embracing AI. They're building a lot of products to help with their specialized teams.
Yeah.
Mid-level companies, you're not really seeing that. They're kind of staying away. They're not ready to jump in. You're seeing a lot of legacy owners who think like this is just a fad and they're kind of going with what happened with the blockchain. But then you're seeing smaller companies who realize that they need to adapt or they will die. And they're really going gun ho on implementing new AI strategies and products into their companies. So I think it's exciting times, but also there's so many different ways that companies are going about it. And I would love to know your thoughts.
Oh, I mean, I'm inspired daily just at listening to what people are doing with this. And you hit the nail on the head. You know, the pace that which this is moving is incredible. I mean, it's faster than anybody expected. I love seeing the creativity with how people are using it. Large companies, small companies, mid-sized companies. You know, you've got a couple of great guys on LinkedIn that are showing how-to videos every day with what they're doing. I saw, a great one today with how somebody integrated it with HubSpot, and things like that. So, no, I mean, there's no shortage of use cases. It's just people being willing to kind of dive deep within and get curious within their organizations and start experimenting with it. And so I'm so happy to hear that at this event last week, that you're hearing more and more companies within our industry doing that as well. And I heard nothing but great things about this event. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great event, and I can't wait for next year.
Good.
We had a great turnout, and I think again, people understand the gravity of what's happening here. So in a year from now, who knows what's going to be spoken about?
Oh, listen, a year from now,
Yeah,
maybe we won't be on here. Maybe it'll be our AI agents or avatars that'll be doing this,
yeah,
and who knows where you and I will be. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we'll probably be sipping margaritas while we have our avatars doing this for us.
or working for them, either way, or
Yeah.
getting them margaritas. I don't know, either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. I can't wait for our guest for this episode. Today, we're diving into the world of retail, and we have just the person to help us with that.
We really do. Our guest today is Nick Harbau. He is a seasoned project manager, also a fellow Buckeye from Ohio. This guy has spent over 2 decades orchestrating retail rollouts across over 100,000 locations in more than 15 countries. From fast track build outs to navigating the ever changing expectations of retail consumers, this guy has seen it all on the ground level.
Nick is also the creator of the Retail Nomad that you could see on YouTube. It's an international voyage where he documents retail concepts, shares from the field, and spotlights what's working and what's not in the brick and mortar environment today. He's produced over 200 videos and he's won top retail influencer of 2023.
We brought Nick on because he's got a very rare lens. He's part operator, but he's also part storyteller. He really understands what it takes to execute retail real estate at scale and bridges the gap between physical spaces and cultural nuances. Tune in as we explore how global retail trends can inform and inspire the future of commercial real estate. So, what do you think, Ryan? Should we get to it?
Let's get to it.
And with that, I am excited, super excited. You're going to find out why. To introduce our next guest, Nick Harbau, VP International of Flexecution, and also known as the Retail Nomad. Welcome, Nick, to the pod. How are you, friend? Where are you?
I am fantastic, and thank you too for inviting me on here. I am currently sitting in Naples, Italy here this evening.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love their pizza.
So you're
It's
slumming
amazing,
it.
right?
Yeah. So the
Amazing.
guys,
Three
yeah.
ingredients, absolutely delish.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't go to Italy. Last time I was there, I gained 7 pounds in 1 week. Like I can't go to Italy.
I'm right there with you. I know what you're saying.
Ah,
It
beautiful,
happens.
beautiful. Manja. All right. So
There we go.
Nick, Nick, we're super stoked to have you with us. And you've got such a great story. We can't wait to share it with our listeners. So let's start with what we think to be the least likely retail origin story. You start off in mechanical engineering at Ohio State, OH.
IO.
Don't leave
Let's
me
go
hanging, my
Bucks.
friend. Don't
I'm
leave me
outnumbered
hanging.
today.
Go.
Yeah.
Let's
This
go.
doesn't happen often for Nadine. I don't get a fellow
Yes.
Ohioan on here. All right. So you
Nice.
started out in Columbus. You're doing mechanical engineering, Nick. Little academic turbulence. We'll let you tell the story. And then boom, GNC, Radio Shack, in a marketing company. We'll pull you into retail.
You know what? They say sometimes it's the luck of timing, the key to life, right? I signed up mechanical engineering, and quickly down that path, I learned that I was not the most academic student, just to be candid and honest with you.
Yeah.
And we came to a mutual agreement. The school advisor, Nick, maybe this isn't for you. I'm like, we're definitely reading the same sheet of music here. And I decided quickly to exit stage left. And it was one of those times in growth of retail that things were exploding. So it was very coincidental. It was luck of the draw. With my background and where I came from in Central Ohio, you're kind of born, raised, groomed, and educated on mechanical aptitude. You take Legos and just extend that and expand the size and scale, and you fall into the ability to do retail. I had connected to a marketing firm out of Columbus, and before you know it, I had a few connections, and I was able to start my first firm in 1994. And we fell into ultimately going into Radio Shack and GNC as our first nationwide clients, each virtually having 4,500 units in an entire U.S. distribution geographic footprint. So very lucky and fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Radio Shack. You couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm born and raised Canton, Ohio. It's about little northeast of
Nice.
yeah, right.
Football Hall of Fame or something up there.
You know it, yes.
Yeah.
And you are not the first guest to know that. Ryan now knows that too. We'll never forget it. So yeah. But
Nice.
GNC and Radio Shack, I feel like we're everywhere, right? And you still have a few GNCs floating around, obviously no longer Radio Shack. So I very much recall this boom era, at least being in Ohio as well. So what did that early chapter teach you about commercial real estate growth kind of in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s?
It's positioning, location. It's like real estate, right? It's the location. And what I learned, what are their demographics, right? At a young age and so forth. I think the Radio Shack at one point, they were within 5 miles of 93% of the U.S. population. And to me, that was eye-opening. It's being so young and youthful. I'm like, wow, how does that even work? And then where they would select and go and move and either close or build a new location. So very educational, informative at a young age. And we ended up grabbed both of them by the coattails and rode their wave of growth. And obviously Radio Shack, years later end up, rearranging chairs on the Titanic and not faring so well. They're still Radio Shack in Costa Rica, by the way. I included them in a video a year ago. Just
really
amazing. Yeah. So it's funny what I see international, Sears in Mexico, things like that. But really eye-opening on how they do their selection, demographic selections. And, is it based off of college? Are you in a college campus area, single, young, or is it, a family, 2.3 children and things like that, where the selection criteria may fall with real estate companies and brands.
Before there was Best Buy, there was Radio Shack.
Exactly. Yeah. And then look what that morphed into. Here we are today, in mega super centers.
Yep. So exactly.
It's interesting seeing that curve of growth, and how it's all changed over the last 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I remember I used to get my cell phones from there. Like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were one of the first big ones, right? That started displaying at the front of the store the multiple providers and carriers, right? And morphed into today what we, T-Mobile, and all the various providers today. But you're right. Back in the 90s, that was the go-to spot, if you recall.
It was.
Yeah. Brings
Ryan.
me back to the good old times.
Totally. That's why when I stumbled into one of the stores in Costa Rica, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I included the video and I sent it to some of the old project managers from the 90s. I'm like, they're still alive. They're still here.
Right. That's just awesome. Like there's still like one Blockbuster, like in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of the one-offs, right? Not to get off tangent or off topic here, but I started my career in Ohio at Drug Emporium. I don't know if you recall that name, Nadine. You guys had far more up north, and Drug Emporium was out of Columbus, Ohio. They ended up getting about 300 units, but they filed BK 20 years ago, type of thing.
Really? Yeah.
I'm in Arkansas last year for a client meeting and staying at the hotel, and I hear down the street drug emporium. I'm like, nah, I had to hear that incorrectly. It was an old franchisee dude that literally, I guess he has like 11 or 15 stores down there. And I went in, and it's like, back to when I had hair in the 90s and I worked at Drug Emporium. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Wow. Were they any affiliation to Discount Drug Mart? Do you remember those?
I remember the name, but I don't recall if there
Yeah.
was a connection there or not. And I'm assuming up in your area, it was heavily Farmore based back in those days. And Drug
Yeah.
Emporium was more Columbus. So maybe they stayed out of that northeast region
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Ohio. Could
Maybe.
be.
We'll spare
But
Ryan this memory lane of retail with Stark
it's
County,
like, what are you two
Ohio. So
talking
yeah.
about?
Don't worry about it. I always got to hear about Manhattan and all this,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Exactly.
He's okay. He's fine. He's fine.
Nice.
Nick, when I think about you with hair, did you have like a ponytail? I could picture that.
In high school, I had a mullet. I tell you
Okay.
what, I rocked it. And I even had some curls coming down the backside here. And I thought I was so cool until I
Business in the
realized I
front,
wasn't.
party in the back,
Exactly.
man. Nick was rocking it.
Retail in the front, party in the back.
Oh my God. Yeah. All I could think of is Joe Dirt, right? When I think
There
of
you
mullet.
go. There you
Yeah,
go.
but you were like we were classier. We'll give you more than that, Nick, for sure. But Ryan, I
tried to
was
put on a
envisioning
collar,
the same
right?
thing.
Yeah, I could just
flip-flops.
yeah. But mullets are they're in some
Aren't they
areas.
coming back? They're coming
Yeah,
back
they're
around,
coming
right?
back. Yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah,
God,
maybe
some
I'll have to
things need
bust one out for Halloween or something.
Oh my God. Some things just stay in the past. But anyway, all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, speaking about the past, in 2005, you went international, moved to Costa Rica before it was really trendy. And then you kind of created the Retail Nomad. So what was the vision there and how has it evolved?
Yeah, I started traveling internationally probably late 90s, early 2000s when some of the US brands were crossing borders, north and south, right? So it opened up my vision that all I needed was that international plan on the phone, and I could still communicate, still execute. But I mean, it was still archaic. I still had to visit, internet cafes and so forth. But it opened up my eyes that there's a different world out there, right? And I kept coming back to the States. And long story short, I was able to rearrange things and literally make the adjustment to leave the continental US in 2005. I was in California for about 10 years out of San Diego and left. But things really didn't change because the phone would still ring and I would still get the email. But back in those days, I literally had to go from my house to the internet cafe, type of thing,
Yeah.
until it was in that transitional phase of the technology and the advancement. So when I went there, I had old Skype and Magic Jack, and I had one bag of technology, is what I called it. And my ex-girlfriend's family thought I worked for the CIA or FBI. I got kicked out of Ohio State. I mean, but working through those technology advancements, here we are today, making it so much easier. But it's interesting seeing that channel of growth of ability to work and build retail. And it opened my eyes to a lot, both personal and business wise, leaving the US.
I wanted to make a CIA joke, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So, all right. Nick, you have filmed over 200 videos in countries all over the world, man. Spotlighting, like lesser known kind of, but really deeply authentic brands that tell an incredible story. What draws you to a retail story? Like what makes you say, I got to hit record, right? You were just talking about that lone Radio Shack that you walked into, right? Like what is it that you're like, I have to share this?
I like to do a yin and yang, right? I can't focus on corporate stores every week, every video, right? I can, but that could get mundane. And in the beginning phase, somebody suggested, and I love feedback, by the way, when people hit me up, hey Nick, check this out, or take a look at this. And I got the idea and puzzled it all together. That try that yin and yang, corporate, local, wherever I am geographically. Find a brand, a manufacturer, supplier, store, something you've never heard of. Right. Think domestic US. We're all familiar with Nike, Levi's, the main international labels. you get outside, and I'll never forget. I landed in Morocco, and literally outside the airport, they're like, "You want to buy some argan oil?" I'm like, "What the hell's argan oil? I don't even know what that is." And they're like, "It's for your hair or skin." I'm like, "Well, I'm only 50% of that, right?" So and I realized they're like, "No, they sell it in all the Sephoras around the world." I'm like, "What? What is this?" So before you know it, I included a manufacturer, an association that pulled the local grandmothers together, and they made argan oil. And here I am sitting on a mountaintop with these grandmothers crushing argan, seeds. That's now it's sold. I don't know if there's the exact locations are sold in Sephora, but the products are sold in U.S. retailers. I had no idea, never even heard of argan oil in my life. But yet it's still connected to our mainstream retailers in the U.S. To me, it was so educational, so eye-opening. And I love that, connecting the brand with a local product, a supplier, that type of thing. The yin and yang is what I call it.
Dude, it's balance, right?
Not sure if that answered your question, but
it totally, no, Nick, it completely answered my question, right? It doesn't always have to be rocket science, right? Your craft, corporate real estate, but you also recognize that we got to balance it out with some lesser known stories that might evoke more of an emotional response maybe from the audience instead of the big flashy, sexy corporate brands. And so I think it always comes down to balance and moderation and, that yin and yang, right. That you talk about. So you already kind of gave a pretty good example with the argan oil store, but how does retail culture vary across borders, right? What have you observed in your travels as it relates to, say, how we in the United States engage with retail and consumer goods and consumption versus other cultures?
I think it depends on region and area and so forth. I love some of what I've seen, and I still call it that old school customer interaction, right? That engagement. It's not just a numeric transaction, right? I'm in Italy right now, right? And the butcher, the bread guy, this. I mean, you feel it, right? It's so hard to replace that when it becomes commercialized. Getting your sandwich or coffee in the morning. I mean, it's not the same as going to Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, or one of the brands. And it's I think we lose some of that with the macro scale that we have. And it's hard to replace that genuine authenticity. And it's that small, not small town. I'm in a big city, but it's that connectivity to the consumer is what I would say we lose sometimes, but I love seeing it when I travel.
Do you find that you find more of that so-called authentic small town feel in more larger cities internationally than you would see here in the United States?
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean, I'm in Naples right now, right?
Right.
But I guarantee if I was here for a week, the guy downstairs would know my name at the cop, and they would know it at a brand in the States as well. But that connectivity, the conversation flows. How's the wife and kids? I mean, I'm role playing here, but in that sense, I feel it. And maybe I'm just more intrigued with it as well when I travel, or more perceptive to it is right. There could be other variables.
I think the community aspect really plays a big part in what you're saying. Like people in those type of international areas, like the neighborhoods, people are much more tight knit, much more close.
Spot on, Ryan.
Yeah, you're getting it's like everyone's like in this family, and it doesn't feel like, as you said, like a transactional type of environment. It's more about meeting the people that you see often, and it kind of becomes innate and everything else that you've mentioned, but that I think is great.
Agreed, 100%. And I think the retailers that will win long term are the ones that still bring that back into the mix, that experience, the exchange. It's not just selling a pen and transferring cash and leaving out the door. So the ones that intertwine that in their concept, I think, will be the long-term winners, because obviously we've seen some that haven't made it, in the last few years.
Super interesting that you mentioned that exchange and the focus on experience, Nick, because we're seeing a lot of talk in the office sector specifically in the United States, Ryan and we talk about this
Yeah.
a lot in a number of different forums, right? How the office sector, or also multifamily, that used to be pretty transactional, right? Because of the nature of the markets and supply and demand, and that the workforce was one that would go to the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week. But now, right, we're seeing like more flexibility, and so these owners and operators got to be like, how do we get people to want to? How do we get that foot traffic? Right? That is a concept you're going to hear probably more of in retail. So they're now having to start to talk more, right, about that experience and hospitality and things like that. And so, we're seeing kind of these silos around the traditional asset classes kind of blur a little bit. So super, super interesting.
Sure. I'm sure there's a big shift, in the category of sales, the volume and so forth, with the shift in what's happening in the marketplace in the States.
Yeah.
Well, you're seeing that a lot at department stores, like in Bloomingdale's. I remember they put like a small ice rink for like kids to be able to play, so that they feel like they're having that experience. And then you're seeing these massive strip malls that have been creating all these different type of experiences, like the American Dream, for example, so that you have activities for kids, but also places for people to shop.
It's a great combo. It's a winning combo right now. The ones that don't engage or intertwine entertainment, that experiential side, the more and more of us are working from home these days, and you may have the child with you when you're at the shopping store or the mall. It definitely changes the dynamic.
Something that you brought up that I love is you say tech drives bricks. And that's really compelling because you see a lot of people, a lot of the younger generation now, they're just focused on their phones and screens. And that's what you're seeing every day. So how does that compel the brick and mortar business?
It's changing daily. It's changing hourly right now. And I just recently attended what was called Shop Talk Europe, heavily driven on the tech side. And a lot of people were very confused. Nick, why are you going to a tech show? I'm the least techie guy in the room. I'm more like Fred Flintstone. I told my friends, trying to take him into the Jetsons environment. But what I learned was, back in the day, we would build the store. Okay, we didn't really know the why, right? Why are we doing it this way? Or why are we putting it there? Why is the store being located there? That technology, the data and the collection element, now it's everywhere, from the loyalty program on our phone to the Instacart to the self-checkout to the smart fitting room. It's everywhere. And, it's so eye-opening. And now we get the blueprints and we're like, what's this little widget? I don't know. What's a beacon? I don't know what a beacon is. Oh, it zaps the phone. And, if you're on the loyalty program and you historically purchased peanut butter and jelly and this brand of bread, now when you're in front of the peanut butter jelly, section, you pick it up, and now it knows to zap you and send you a 10% off coupon. To me, that blows me away. Living in the jungle next to the monkeys for the last 20 years, we don't have those options down there. But Walmart is there now, so I'm assuming it's nearby. But my point is that it's changing the look, feel, design, color selection, design elements of the fixtures. It's changing everything about retail. And what you hit on, Ryan, the younger generation starts that sales process on their phone, yet educational, right? And maybe they don't complete it, but it's what I like is the ability in my mind, visualizing the bridge between E to brick. Right? You blend those two together. And I've learned a lot by attending the show the last few years, but high ticker items, typically people want to educate themselves on, mobile, or laptop, and then go maybe touch, feel, use, the big ticket item. But it's changing every element of retail that we see. More stores of the future, if you will, are coming into play with these new technologies. And I don't understand how half of them function or work, but it's very intriguing to see how it's changing the dynamic of brick and mortar that I've been involved with for over 30 years.
I teach a class on entrepreneurship, and I have the students do a case study on Allbirds. And
Nice.
yeah, and what I love about it is it really talks about all the different ways that they're creating that experience, but also using tech into their retail stores. and creating and it gives a chance for the students to learn about retail as a service. And I know
Totally.
that there's a lot of companies right now that are going down that route. Some are succeeding, some are not. What do you think is the best route to take in order to be successful in that type of?
You have to make a decision. You have to travel that path. I feel if not, I've been around long enough that they'll go away, right? If they don't conform, if they don't innovate, they don't buy into the technology advancements, they're going to lose the buyer. That younger generation is reaching a point where they're going to quickly take over the largest percentage of purchasing power. The next 5 to 10 years, that shift, we've reached our fulcrum point. And if they don't adapt, they're going to be the Blockbuster. They're going to be the Radio
Yeah.
Shacks, right? They have to adapt or they're going to be gone.
Yeah, adapt or die, right? That's the old saying.
.com.
I want to go back to your YouTube channel. What was one video that you recorded that went unexpectedly viral?
I don't know if any of them. I don't even know the true definition of viral, or to be honest with you. But I've had good success, and what I like is the feedback I get. Nick, that was good. I like this. Great, you called that out. There's been a few of them, a couple recently, a couple over the last year or so. The one, mattress firm, Store of the Future, right? And I loved how I call it tech, but the video screens was more educational, right? And it was the informative. I haven't bought a mattress in the States in over 25 years. So for me, it blew me away. I'm like, whoa, we don't have that kind of technology in Costa Rica when you go to buy a mattress. So I was intrigued. In the video, I showed from taking an open shell to turning it over and making it into a store. But I was most intrigued with the technology, right? And just how it was an informative educational process to the consumer. To me, that was that was award winning in my eyes.
That's awesome. Speaking of brands and suppliers, you've started giving some recommendations yourself with some suppliers. Is this the future of commercial real estate, retail advisors such as yourself becoming full stack strategists?
It's a great question, Nadine, in the sense that I see a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the feedback I do get, right? I get a phone call, Nick, you're in Europe. I'm like, yeah. Like, can you tell us and show us what they're doing over there, right?
Yeah.
Being the eyes and ears out there in the field and being able to help others, right? I don't know if you saw on my LinkedIn page, I'm a member of a networking association group called The Mob. Everybody's like, Nick, what's The Mob? And all we do is we help one another, but we do it based off recommendations when somebody's got a pain point. I've built stores. What's the probability when I meet a brand that they need a store built? Maybe typically it's not huge, right? Until they need to build a store. But it's that recommendation of who to go to and who you know and trust. And what I like is most of us have known each other for 5, 10, 20 years. Wow. So you've built 50, 100 stores together. Who when they say yes, it means yes. Who can be trusted and how the widget works and how things actually go together to refer others.
I love talking to you guys, Nick, that have been in the retail, specifically retail business for as long as you've had, for that reason you just said, right? I have a lot of great professional colleagues and friends that have been, either they've been retail brokers for 40 years. They've built and opened how many different stores and brands coast to coast. And you guys do know each other, and you guys, and I love hearing the stories of you guys bringing brands to life that may not be around anymore, right? So you guys have a lot of stories to tell. You've seen a lot, you've learned a lot, and just, I love that you keep telling those stories because there's a lot to learn from there, right? So, but you talked about opening stores and building. So, really curious, listen, cost is what everybody's talking about, right? Cost to build these days, especially tariffs and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you, or what tips do you have to approach cost savings during retail construction without compromising, right, that experience that you said is so important, or that aesthetic, which unfortunately can sometimes be the first thing to kind of be sacrificed when cost savings is an issue?
I may get myself in trouble on this one, but I'm going to be honest. Listen to your vendors, right? That if you look at
Shocking, shocking advice.
Well, think of this.
Right?
I've been on the vendor side 30 years and I've built thousands of brands, right? So I get to see 1,000 different processes, and each one thinks their process is the most amazing thing ever, right? Since sliced bread. And a lot of times we try to be suggestive and helpful. Hey, have you ever thought about this? Whatever this may be.
Yeah.
And more times than not, one of them I'll never forget. He or they sent me an NDA, a second level NDA. Nick, we know what we're doing. We need you to sign this, and we don't need any more of your suggestions. Okay, cool. All right, dude. We're just there to help, right? Funny enough, a few of those brands are out of business now, and I'm not saying that's the reason why.
Surprise.
But
sure.
Well,
I give him the benefit of the doubt. Ryan's like, yeah, of course.
I'll never forget late 90s, one of the first times that we heard they were going to Asia to procure their fixtures and goods. Like, okay, wow, that's the first time I heard that.
Yeah.
And it shows up, we open it up, we're all excited, and it was just waterlogged. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was a good purchase. It's just the learnings, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, wow, hopefully they saved a lot of money there. The cost, right? And what to do, what not to do, and who is good. There's a lot of good ones, in various countries in the world, and there's some that aren't so good. And we only know that from experience on who to work with and who you should partner yourself with.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I really appreciate that point, right? That sometimes you just have to do it to learn, right? And I think especially we talk a lot about technology and the benefits of technology and having technology glean insights into reviewing data right now. But I to your point, right? Yes, technology is going to be able to help us figure out how to cut costs or be more efficient, but it's not going to replace just doing it and learning, right, from that experience as well. That's just not going to go away in this business. I feel very strongly about that. So
absolutely. Yeah. And again, it comes from experience, right? I always say, how many times have in my field in the competitive side, if you will, how many of those people have been in the store at 3 a.m. and needed to make a crucial game time decision, right?
Yeah.
And being in the trench and knowing what to do, how to do it, and modify, fix, modify, repair. And that way the project's finished, the store opens, everybody's happy. It comes from experience, right? And it's impossible to replace that. You have to earn it.
Yeah, experience is crucial, and being and talking about the mob, all of you guys have over 200 years of experience in the sector. So experience is huge, just being able to bounce off ideas with one another.
You're spot on. And think of that. It's more than a couple hundred years, right? I've got 30, right? And we've got, nearly 15, 20 members in the mob. And I love that because sometimes I'll go to them, hey, I need this. Well, who do you know? And it's that trusted element of who they've used. So it's that, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you will. And that comes from 10, 20, 30 years of experience. Before you know it, you got a Zoom call, and you got 2, 3, 4 people. You've got a couple hundred years of experience on there trying to solve an issue. And we all view it from a different perspective and eyesight.
Yeah, I've always gone to my peers for advice in terms of anything that needs to be done for our build outs in office or multifamily units. I think it's so important. So I definitely agree with you there. I want to go talk more about the international side. What's something right now that's happening in Europe and Latin America retail that real estate professionals should be focusing on but aren't?
Good question, Ryan.
That's a great question. And what I would say is right sizing, right? I think when I come to Europe, to me, it's interesting, the difference size of everything, right? And I don't feel that Europe, even Latin America, expanded, made everything to scale and supersize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm here in Europe. The cars are small, this is small, that space is an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the States, I feel that we went macro and look at the cost elements to build, maintain, and AC, heat. I mean, all these
Mm-hmm.
cost line items, those elements add up over time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only in the Americas. I mean, I guess I've never been to Australia, but my point is, I've only seen macro in a few handful of countries. It's everywhere in the U.S., and we wonder why that bottom line is so difficult for them to, to make it. Some of the biggest brands have filed BK in the last 2, 5, 10 years. Never thought that some of them would go out, but right sizing the store, knowing your numeric values, your cost, and it's easier to maintain a smaller square foot, a
Yeah.
footprint. It all comes down to game of numbers, right? So I would say right sizing in the other regions and countries and continents, I feel, have it better and easier to maintain than we do in the States because we are so macro, so supersized.
Awesome point. Oh, and it's such like honestly such a simple common sense
I
point,
know, right?
right? It's just so common sense. Hey, we're building shit bigger here, so it's gonna cost more to maintain.
Two plus two is 22, right?
Like,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, I feel like everybody's like over. Yeah, we always got to overcomplicate things.
What I will say as a tag along with that, there, some of the tech I saw at Shop Talk was very interesting. The one application was so cool because they know that our footprint is so large. Their whole technology now is to blend and then cut the stores in half and make it almost a warehouse to ship or one pickup from your online orders. Really cool what's taking place if you don't want to close the store. Another huge cost element, right?
Yeah.
Keep the square footage, cut it in half, and let's use this as a mini distribution, center, if you will, or online
Dude, that's
pickup.
so smart. That's so smart. And listen, really quick for the listeners, I just want to make sure we're all following along. You're so cool and hip with retail, and you're using lingo. You're saying e a lot. I'm going to assume you're meaning e-commerce.
Correct. Sorry, is that no longer a
no.
buzzword?
Dude, it's never been about, I don't like, you've been in the trenches for so long. No, So for those listening, every time Nick has said he's talking about e-commerce, online shopping. And what I think,
there we go.
We like to make sure no listener left behind here on CRE Unplugged.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, but listen, again, just simple common sense, right? You've got a footprint. You don't need it all anymore. Instead of being so binary in the analysis of do we close or keep this size or right size only the brick, right? Don't give up all the space and convert part of it, like you said, to, e-commerce, online order satisfaction distribution center or whatever. And like, boom,
To me, when I saw it, I'm like, wow, that seems very intelligent. Very, very smart applications they were putting.
It's very elegant. It's very elegant. Yeah.
Nick, are you seeing any other innovative ideas that are coming up on the retail side?
I mean, there's all kinds of things taking place right now, as you well know. But at the show, I was intrigued. I never used Instacart, so I had to have him give me a demonstration on how Instacart worked. I mean, and not to plug them, but I mean, I was like, wow, I've heard a lot about that name, but didn't even know really how it worked. But it's everything. Like I mentioned, smart fitting rooms. I'm like, what in the world is a smart fitting room? I've never been in a smart fitting room. But it was cool. I mean, it was everything from even the lighting, and I love the gal's explanation. When we feel and we look better, we think we feel better, the probability of purchasing that garment increases exponentially. I'm like, never thought of that. A bunch of us dudes probably, oh yeah, sure, fits. Okay, I'll go ahead and buy this. But I mean, looking at the demographic and those little advances with technology, quite a bit different than me going in a Ross store in 1998, and trying on some pants and in an unsmart fitting room, back in the day.
Right.
Can you just tell me something just between you and I? Those mirrors at those clothing stores, they definitely make you look good, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are special mirrors that we install.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always feel I end up looking a lot better at the store than when I go wear it out in public.
I get out there, I'm like, this isn't what this looked like at the store.
All right, I'm glad you're affirming that. I appreciate it.
Totally. We're on the same page.
All right, so some folks might be listening to you, Nick, and I mean this with the utmost respect. the hell? This guy just was exposed to Instacart, you know? But for our listeners, Nick's been in Costa Rica for the last 21 years, guys. All right. So his lived experience has been a lot different than all of us over here. That probably became pretty savvy with Instacart during COVID if we weren't before that. Right. So, but
Okay.
21 years in Costa Rica, and you just made the move to Europe. So what are you hoping to tap into next while you're in Europe, Nick?
And to be candid, it's still in motion, right? So I'm not even officially made the decision of where I'll be. But what I like is
you heard it first on CRE Unplugged, folks. He is in the process now. The retail nomad.
Next time we talk to you.
The retail nomad doesn't quite know yet where he'll be in Europe, but listen to his answer now and see if you can guess where he might be going.
I tell you, I'm intrigued with all the history and how it feeds into my interest for lifelong education, but yet our industry of retail. I had zero idea 20 years ago, before I even started traveling a lot internationally to this side of the pond, how much retail was influenced by Europe, the history of the world, right? I did a video on the Grand Bazaar, and the oldest, shopping market in the world, but how it affects what we're doing. But me being here, every day I learn something. The why is that why it's the way it is in the Americas? I had no idea. That whole process, and it stems from personal life as well as our retail sector and business. So for me, it's a daily educational process that I'm so intrigued with. So it's fun, it's exciting, it's educational.
Super cool. Super cool.
I love that you talk about honoring your authenticity instead of fitting the corporate mold. And we've talked about this. You have your seashell necklace. You're very much not fitting that corporate type of person. So what's your advice to younger professionals who are trying to carve out a role as an off-script career?
Ryan, are you saying that this isn't the Wall Street look?
Are you saying the conch necklace is not considered trendy today? What are you talking about, Ryan?
It will eventually come back around, right?
I'm gonna
wear those
always does,
and the bolo tie.
Always does.
You know what? I've always believed in authenticity and being yourself, being what's real, being what's right, ethically, honorable, the character lines, and I've got the suit and tie. I don't even know if I have a tie anymore, but I've done and I've played that game when I had to, but more so when I was young, traveling, to Wall Street and the high fluent markets. If you just think of the character change in the last 10, 20 years, right? But when it comes down to the youth of today, be yourself, be real, and I look at why I do what I do now. I enjoyed putting things together, and that mechanical aptitude at a young age morphed into what I do now today. And I find opportunities in people that are cool people, make cool stories. And if people, obviously 99% of the youth today don't want to do that, but find whatever they enjoy and like to do and just be themselves, be real. The probability of happiness will be 1,000,000 times higher if they do that.
You know what, Nick? Okay, that's always like great advice, right? But as we are now in the age of AI, and there's, we're having this conversation, like, how will we be able to detect what's AI generated versus what's real,
Sure.
And a lot of people are talking like we're going to probably see an increase in more face-to-face interactions and things like that. So I feel like authenticity is going to become even more table stakes. You know what I mean? I think authenticity is become even, because how are we going to differentiate ourselves, whether in work or whatever it is, when so much is going to be automated. And so really, I think radical authenticity is going to be the key. So
these are real.
For those of you who are listening to the podcast, he's pointing at his necklace.
Yeah,
these are real, Nadine.
Yeah, that shell necklace is the real deal. Okay, that is not mass produced. So yeah,
but that's a great point, though. I never thought of it in that aspect with more AI generated content. That how do you gain and feel the authenticity? So I think that's phenomenal. You called that out.
Well, that's the Glennon Doyle in me coming out. So that's a different podcast. But listen, Nick, fill in the blank for the listeners. The future of retail is
Innovative.
Tell us more.
Ever changing. Again, the adaptability. Those who don't adapt will be gone. I mean, we've seen it, historically here in more in the last 5-10 years than ever. And to me, it's the writing's on the wall. We must adapt. We must create those experiences. We must connect with our consumer. And if we don't, if it strictly more and more becomes transactional, I think the longevity of that brand may not be that long. It's my projection.
Words to live by.
Last question. This is CRE Unplugged. We need to, get some of the human side element from you. When
Sure.
you're not tackling global retail trends, what do you do for fun? How do you unplug?
I connect with people, friends, places. I'm in Italy and I'm going to hang out with friends this weekend on the Amalfi Coast, right? Last week, I took a pasta making class on the other coast, on the Adriatic Sea, right? So trying to blend with the local culture. And then with a video I did in that town, I'm going to blend this old grandmother that's been making pasta for I don't even know, 72 years, it seems. She's like 92 or something, but she's got her own brand of pasta. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, go Granny.
Yeah. So just blending, learning wherever I am, whatever region of the world I am, continual education and connecting dots to cool people.
Awesome. It's not a bad way to live, Nick. It's not a bad way to live.
Hopefully I don't look stressed.
No,
you don't, dude.
Do not.
You don't. No, not at all. No, you look like a
Nice.
man who's figured out his own definition of success and happiness for all his life, and he's just out there doing it. So, and we gotta thank you for carving time out to join us here at CRE Unplugged. This conversation's been an absolute delight. So, thanks so much to you, Nick.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
so
too
much,
for
man.
having me here. I was gonna say, absolutely. I appreciate your time here today. And I don't know, anyone that listening would like to check out some more information or content, they could do so on my YouTube page. And it's just 3 words, The Retail Nomad. Or if they'd like to check out anything personally or professional with me, it's LinkedIn under my personal name, Nick Harbaugh.
You're a Harbau, but you are from Ohio. What a crime.
Tell you what, my last name did not help me at all back when old Jim was quarterback up north. That was not positive for me.
I see what you did there up north.
You must,
Exactly.
yeah, we don't, yeah. You must be a thick-skinned man to have survived that, Nick.
And I tell you what, it was painstaking back in the day.
Built character, right?
Definitely a character builder.
Yeah.
Well, Nick,
Good
thank
old
you
days.
so much. This was such a great conversation, and we're so happy that you're able to join us. Be sure to stay tuned for our recap after a word from our sponsor. Hey there, CRE Unplugged fam. We would like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the Game Changers over at Hilo, the customer experience platform for buildings that's turning heads in the real estate world.
That's right. Can we talk about how Hilo is transforming the way we manage properties and create unforgettable experiences? Ryan, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Hilo?
Well, Nadine, it's all about reducing friction in property management. Hilo is like the magic wand that makes everything seamless and efficient. Say goodbye to those time-consuming tasks and hello to streamlined operations and communications.
Efficiency is crucial, but what about personalized experiences? Hilo takes it to the next level with a vision to tailor each interaction to the needs and preferences of its customers.
And let's not forget the community aspect. Hilo builds vibrant, connected communities. It's fostering a sense of belonging and togetherness.
Now, here's something that truly sets Hilo apart: their commitment to advancing ESG initiatives. They're not just about buildings, they're about making a positive impact on the environment. That's a win-win for everyone.
So, to our listeners out there, if you're ready to elevate your properties, digitize and enhance customer experience, and maximize satisfaction, Hilo is the answer. Please visit hiloapp.com for more information. That's hiloapp.com.
Well, Ryan, to say that I am surprised that a fellow Buckeye from Ohio was a stellar guest is not a surprise to me.
Yeah,
What about you?
you're favoritism. I got it. It's, these your Buckeye family need to all stick together.
No, I know. What an interesting, awesome guy Nick Harbaugh was. I don't know where to begin, but I'll start with one particular thing that I really took away from this, and I really admire how on the road when he's kind of interviewing or highlighting different retail concepts, he's very intentional about the balance between kind of the big and flashy and international and well-known brands, right, like Chanel or Disney or whatever else that may be, but also he's going to highlight a more locally owned mom and pop retail concept, maybe in a small village in another country that we would never even probably have the ability to see. And and he's bringing their story to the forefront, right? He's kind of doing this yin and yang between the two and that balance, and reminding us all that retail isn't just about the big brands that we're all familiar with, but it's also about those family stories that inspire somebody to kind of open up maybe a little cafe to keep their mother's recipes going or whatnot. And I think that intentionality and the balance, I think we need more of that. And kudos to Nick for bringing that to life on the Retail Nomad.
We definitely need more of that. And I also think we need more people like Nick who are so authentic and they're
Yeah.
true to themselves and they don't care what their appearance is and they'll wear their shell necklace and go out
Yeah.
there and be themselves. And it means a lot to me because I really resonate with people like that. He didn't bring this up on the podcast, but he told me a story previously about how he went to a retail store and he had one of those Julia Roberts moments from Pretty Woman where they looked at his appearance and they didn't
Yeah.
take it seriously. But then the
Yeah.
minute they found out who he was,
Yep.
they kind of totally realized the mistake they made and they started apologizing. So don't judge a book by its cover and really get to know a person before you make any judgments. That's all I got
A
to say.
100%, 100%. And also, we were talking about lessons that Nick was applying in the field back in the 90s and early 2000s when he was opening up Radio Shacks and GNCs all over the country. And we were talking about lessons that they were employing then that could just be relevant today. And so I think a lot of times, we start to keep wanting to chase the shiny new object and find completely new and innovative way of doing things. But sometimes, we just got to take a look to the past a little bit, not too far, and can find the answers that we're looking for. So I really love that with Nick. He's like, listen, we were doing this back then, with Radio Shack, and he's applying the same principles to some of what he's doing today, with the same success. And so great guy, down to earth, and just a true reminder of how much I love this industry and why.
But isn't it funny that he's breaking the mold of the stereotype that there's all these young content creators out there?
Totally.
And he's this seasoned pro who's come up with this great concept of the Retail Nomad. And he's going out there and he's got over 200,000 subscribers and he's doing
Yeah.
his thing. And it just shows like you could do this at all ages. It doesn't have to just be, you don't have to be a certain part of your life to start creating content. You could do it at any point, and he's thriving with it. So
He's the Anthony Bourdain of retail, man.
Yeah, exactly. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. Don't listen to what's being told at you. Just go with what you do, what you love, and follow it. And Nick is a shining testament to that.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you again to Nick Harbaugh, VP International Flexecution and the host of the Retail Nomad. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you have any questions you want us to answer on air, you can always reach out to us at info@creunplugged.com or reach us via our website, www.creunplugged.com. See you next time. And until then, keep your convos real and unplugged.